am Bharti Verma, currently representing Law Insider as a campus ambassador, and I am currently pursuing law from Chandraprabhu Jain College of Higher Studies and School of Law. I am so delighted to inform you that today we are having webinar on such an important topic, that is artificial intelligence, with such a prestigious guest, Rohit Bokil sir. We are so happy to have you today, sir. Artificial intelligence is going to change the world more than anything in the history of mankind, more than electricity, said Dr. Kai-Fu Lee in 2018. Artificial intelligence is impacting the future of virtually every industry and every human being. Artificial intelligence also has some great importance in Indian judiciary. In India, artificial intelligence is finding ways to improve the quality of work as practice computers, law bots are not able to replace lawyers' role in court, but it has the power to do research work and to draft a document that the office role of lawyers might be reduced to a great extent as the tools developed through artificial intelligence helps in drafting various legal documents. I would like to now introduce our respected guest, Rohit Bokil sir, to everyone. He has done his BSL LLB from ILS Law College, Pune, and his master's from Savitribai Phule Pune University in International Laws. Currently, he is working as an assistant professor of law at ILS Law College. He likes to be with students and to mentor them rather than being in courts. He is perfect mentor a law student desires for, I must say. We welcome you, sir. Now we
Thank you, Bharti.
request Rohit, sir, to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Bharti. Thank you, Bharti, for that lovely introduction. So allow me, I will just share my screen. But before I start with my presentation, I would like to extend my thanks to Law Insider for having me and organizing this seminar. Okay. So now just give me a minute. I will share the screen with you. Okay, so let's start with the presentation. Very good afternoon to one and all, and I hope you and your loved ones are safe in these troubled times. So let's start with today's discussion. The topic is artificial intelligence in Indian judiciary. Now, at the outset, I would like to tell you that owing to the complexity and the vast nature of this topic, it will not be possible to cover the entire topic in today's discussion. So I think it is a positive step. It is a welcoming step taken by the Law Insider to introduce this topic to the audience. And the success of this webinar would depend upon if legal fraternity is to engage upon discussions and deliberations on this particular topic. So at the outset, I would like to clarify that with this brief discussion, which we are going to have, we will be only trying to understand the basics of this particular topic, that is artificial intelligence in Indian judiciary. So the question is, how did the discussion begin? Why are we discussing about artificial intelligence in the connection of Indian judiciary? So it all began with then Chief Justice of India, Shri Bobde, who on 12th of January 2020 said that we have a possibility of developing artificial intelligence for the court system only for the purpose of ensuring that the undue delay in justice is prevented. So it was Justice Bobde sir's words that marked the starting point for this discussion. Chief Justice of India mentioned the possibility of introducing artificial intelligence in the Indian judiciary system. And he hoped that with the introduction of artificial intelligence, the undue delay, which is there in Indian legal system and to some extent in all the legal system, I'll come to that in a minute, and that undue delay can be prevented. So those were his words. Now, the question is, why are we having this discussion? What are we going to achieve once we collaborate artificial intelligence and Indian judiciary. So the next question is, what are we trying to achieve with AI in Indian judiciary? So hypothetically, even if we assume that, yes, we have introduced artificial intelligence in the Indian judiciary, so how is it going to help the Indian judiciary? So these are some of the ways through which the artificial intelligence can help the Indian judiciary. The first is to save the time and energy of judges, lawyers, and litigants. Now we know that Indian judiciary is a vast system, right? India is a vast country. The legal system, the judicial system which we follow is also quite complex. It's vast. We have three-tier system, and we have Supreme Court, we have High Courts, we have District Court. So it is a very complex system, and there are many people, stakeholders who are attached to that system, be it judges, lawyers, litigants, clerks. And when you file a simple case in any court, be it criminal court or civil court, appeal, all all these people get involved. Be it a lawyer, you need to engage a lawyer, you need to appear before a judge, you need to sit, you need to talk with clerks. So all these people who are involved with the Indian judiciary, they have to spend their time and energy. So what we are trying to do here is that if artificial intelligence is introduced in the Indian judiciary, it is going to help all these people to save their energy and time. That means the routine work which they have to do in day-to-day matters, that routine work can be assigned to artificial intelligence system, and lawyers, judges, and clerks, they can devote their more time to more complex and urgent matters rather than spending their time and energy on routine matters. That is the first thing. Second point is to help the judiciary to lessen the burden of pending cases. Now we all know, statistics are there, that Indian judiciary is burdened with a lot of litigation. There are many pending cases, suits, appeals going on, and there are many reasons. There are many reasons. Let me tell you. One of which is maybe the number of judges is not sufficient. The ratio between the judges and the other population is not sufficient. Yes, these are some of the reasons. But AI, artificial intelligence, can help the judiciary to lessen the burden of pending cases. If at all, you can direct, not all, some of the cases to the AI-enabled systems, then judges, they don't have to spend their time, or they will not be under the burden of deciding the matters. AI-enabled systems can take care of the select few cases. I'm not talking about that AI will be in a position to discuss, or it will be in a position to determine who has committed a crime of murder or something. These complex matter, yes, it will require the expertise of lawyers and judges, no doubt in that. But other matters which are pretty routine, like for example, challan matters, traffic violations, these kind of petty matters, it can be referred to AI-enabled system. And there is a lot of pendency. There are a lot many matters pending with the courts which are of this petty nature. So that is the second importance of, or second highlight of introducing AI in the Indian judiciary. Next is to cut down the undue delay in our court system. Okay. Now, let me clarify. Undue delay in court system is different from pending cases. Okay. The system itself is designed to work in a particular fashion, in a particular way. And unfortunately, that has been the nature of litigation, that it is time consuming, especially when we talk about civil cases. You need to file your plaint, then you have to issue summons, service, then written statement. In criminal cases also, there are different steps to follow. And like for example, framing of charge, recording of statement, there are n number of steps. Unfortunately, this system takes time, right? We often hear this, that if at all you want to file a case against someone, if at all you want to sue someone, then you need to have a lot of patience, right? justice is something you don't get easily. You have to fight for it, and the battle to achieve that justice is time taking. But with the help of Indian judiciary, with the help of artificial intelligence, you can cut down the undue delay, the procedural delay, which can be cut. I'm not talking about amending laws, changing procedural codes or everything. No, but with the help of artificial intelligence, you can significantly reduce the delay in our judicial system or court system. For example, with the help of artificial intelligence, you can record the statement. I'll come to that. I'll be giving some examples how this system can be introduced in Indian courts. But this is the reason that with the introduction of artificial intelligence, the undue delay or unnecessary delay, which is there in our system, and it is true in other countries as well, that justice delivery is a time-taking business because you need to hear two sides, you need to apply your mind. But artificial intelligence has shown this possibility that with the AI-enabled software, the undue delay can be cut down and justice delivery system can be more efficient. Now, the next point that is related to the point which I just mentioned is to make judiciary more efficient. Now, what do we mean by to make judiciary more efficient? Now, uh, the current judicial model which we follow, it is centered around people or humans. Okay, judges, lawyers, litigants, clerks, they all are humans. Okay, now when we are going to introduce artificial intelligence in the Indian judiciary, it is expected that the humans will be able to take help of artificial intelligence, right? And with the collective efforts, the judiciary will be more efficient. Now, what do we mean by more efficient? The thing is, the most important advantage of this artificial intelligence is that this artificial intelligent technologies, they are not susceptible to human emotions. Now, what kind of human emotions are we talking here? First of all, fatigue or tiredness or boredom. Since it's going to be a machine, it is never going to get tired, right? Whereas when you talk about humans, we have this natural tendency, human tendency, that we get distracted, we get tired, we look at our watches when the lunch hour is going to happen. What do I have to do after the lunch hour? So unfortunately, it affects the efficiency. It affects the efficiency. Like in some cases, it happens that the clients or the litigants, they don't reach the courts on time, so the judges and the lawyers, they have to wait for the other party. Or sometimes clerk goes on leave, so his cases they are not taken on the board. Or so these are the things, right, which actually reduce the efficiency of any court and in total um, the judiciary. And then there are also fixed hours. Now again, there have been suggestions, there were suggestions made that the working of court should be done in two phases. That the first one is the morning phase, and the second one is the afternoon phase. That the court should start at as early as 7:30 in the morning, so that the first phase will run from 7:30 to 12:30, and then there will be a break of 1 hour, and the afternoon session will start at say 1:30 or 2. So, and fresh judges or uh, 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 clerks on different shift will enter the courts, and the efficiency will go up, and the second phase will go up to till 6:30 or something. So these were the suggestions which were made prior to the lockdown COVID, that so with that the efficiency can be introduced. But when we talk about artificial intelligence, the beauty of AI is that it can work 24 by 7. It can work 24 by 7. It's a machine. So it's not the long working hours never going to be a problem for that machine which has got AI in it. It's not going to get bored solving the same or doing the same task again and again. It's not going to look at its watch. So these are all benefits. These are all benefits of AI enabled system which we can incorporate in the Indian judiciary to make it more efficient. Next point is, other countries like USA, China, and UK have already started using it. It is not the only India where we are having discussion. The other countries, they have gone steps ahead of us, and they have already started using it to a limited extent in criminal matters, in civil matters, and they have had some interesting observations been made. We will come to that in a minute. But it is not something absolutely new, or we have to start with, or we have to enter unknown territory. No, it's not like that. The other countries have already been doing it, and we can look up to them for the examples. Maybe we cannot exactly borrow, say, model from America or UK, because their legal systems are different, our legal system is different, so we cannot just put it from there and apply it in the Indian judiciary. No, obviously we need to make changes, we need to make it work for Indian legal system, but still it is possible. And then the most important question remains, that how are we going to do that? How are we going to achieve this collaboration between AI and Indian judiciary? So for that, you need to have a collaboration, or we need to establish the collaboration between the legal profession and data scientists or statistics. Because data statistics and data scientists, they will be people who will be responsible for making the program, that is AI enabled system, right? But they are going to have limited understanding of law. This is a very general statement. I know there will be some exceptions. There will be data scientists who know law as well, and vice versa. You have legal fraternity, lawyers and judges, who are more comfortable talking about laws, discussing about laws, rather than statistics and data management. Again, there are exceptions. So you need to have a collaboration between legal profession and data scientists. Only then it is possible. So legal professionals should approach data scientists and statisticians with their demands, that we want we want a AI system which is going to decide whether, for example, I'm giving you a simple example, for example, challan, or for example, adjournment should be granted or not, right? And then accordingly, this data scientist and the statisticians will prepare the model for them, for the legal fraternity, and then it will work. So the collaboration is absolutely essential. And if lawyers and data scientists, they work in isolation, then it is not possible. Then it is not possible. It is only possible with the collective efforts. Okay. Now the big question: what is artificial intelligence? What exactly it is, right? Unfortunately, there is no universal definition is available. It is still evolving. The progress is still going on, right? Now, I know this is not a technical discussion about artificial intelligence alone, but it is about artificial intelligence and legal Indian judiciary, or how it can be incorporated. So I'm not going to talk about technical terms, or I'm not going to try to define it in a technical jargon, but we can use some of the simple definitions which are available. So it can be defined as any technique which enables computers to mimic human intelligence, or simulation of human intelligence in machines. Okay. In other words, we can say that it is a method, or it is a technique which allows machines or computers to think like humans. Okay. It is a technique which allows computers to mimic or to think like humans, and then once they think, they can act on it without depending upon humans. Okay? That is the beauty, that is the essence of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence allows machines and computers to think like humans, and after their thinking, they can act on their own. For their actions, they are not dependent upon human intervention, or they are not dependent upon humans. Okay, so that is what artificial intelligence is, if at all we have to explain it, or we have to discuss it in simple terms. Now, is this something very new? What is the background? How we have reached to this stage, that is artificial intelligence? So the answer is yes and no. Artificial intelligence, AI, is fairly new phenomenon, I would say, but at the same time, it is a link in the chain of events. Okay, it all began with digitalization or ICT. Then you also have something called as automation, and then it's artificial intelligence. So what is the difference? What is the difference between automation and artificial intelligence? Many people tend to use these two terms interchangeably. They think that automation and artificial intelligence is one and the same. That is not the case. Okay, but before that, let's discuss a bit about ICT or digitalization. Now, digitalization is, we are very much comfortable with the digitalization. We use many ICT systems, like for example, even in courts, earlier everything was done manually. Earlier everything was done manually, but now you have computers where, where that clerk gets to see the daily matters. He uses steno, or the clerk uses computers to record the deposition of a witness or the order. Then it is not written by hand anymore, it is typed, it is sent to the printer and everything. Then it's also linked to the internet. So sitting at home, you can see the stage of your case, what order has been passed, which, and even the parties, even the litigants can also, they have access to this system which is there, that they have to just type the name of the case or the name of the parties, and the case will appear. And it's not only limited to higher courts, but like lower courts, this digitalization has happened. But again, it is digitalization. It is not artificial intelligence. It is not artificial intelligence. It is just a digitalization. Obviously, it has saved a lot of time. It has saved a lot of time and energy, especially of court staff who had to do it manually before the introduction of digitalization. Now, the next is automation. Now, what do we mean by automation? Now, automation is something which is done for number of times. The same thing is done for number of times by a machine. That is automation. You ask a machine to do the same thing again and again. That will be called as automation. For example, when we drive cars, once we reach our destination, we step out of the car and we remotely lock that car. Okay, so we press a button and then the car gets locked. Or if you press the unlock button, the car opens its door for you. Okay, so what happens is, every time you press the button, some action is going to happen. If you press the next button, the car is going to get unlocked. So that is, every time the same action is doing, but instead of you going there, inserting your key and opening up a door, you are taking the help of that machine or that system. So when you ask a machine to do the same task repeatedly, that is what automation is. Okay, whereas when we talk about artificial intelligence, it is different than automation. Let me tell you, artificial intelligence, like I said, it is a system which allows machines or computers to think like human. Okay, so based on its learning, obviously it is a machine. You need to learn, you need to teach that machine what action is supposed to do. For example, now if you include the artificial intelligence in the same car which we just discussed right now, so what will happen? As you approach the car will sense it. Okay, you are approaching, so what it will do, it will open its door for you. Or you are walking towards car and you suddenly turn away and go in the other direction. So that means the car will think that, okay, the driver does not want to enter the car, so there is no point in opening the doors, right? So it may open the doors for you, or it may not open its doors for you. This is something which it will decide on its own. That is what is artificial intelligence, right? These are again simple examples. Artificial intelligence is fairly complex, but like I said, at this juncture, there is no need to go into the technical jargons, and maybe we can have some other discussion regarding only artificial intelligence and how it works. So now the most important question which is being raised is that, so if at all we introduce artificial intelligence in the Indian judicial system, whether artificial intelligence is going to replace judges, lawyers, clerks, the answer is no. The answer is no. We need artificial intelligence so that it will assist judges, lawyers, and clerks. It will make their job easier. It will make them efficient. And at the end of the day, judicial system, Indian judicial system will be more efficient. But here we are not talking about that AI will take over the job of a lawyer, and there will not be a need of lawyer, or there will not be a need of judge, or even the clerks for that matter. No, absolutely not. It is just to assist them. It is just to assist them to do their tasks more efficiently, right? It is, like I said, this AI technology is still developing. It is still evolving. We are at the very basic stage of artificial intelligence. Maybe we don't know exactly when, but maybe in the coming years, right? We may be able to achieve that stage of artificial intelligence where AI-enabled technologies are able to decide whether a person has committed a crime or not, but not yet, not now. That is going to take a lot of time. So artificial intelligence is not going to replace judges, lawyers, and clerks, but it is just going to assist them. Okay. Now, the next thing is the difference between rule-based AI and data-driven AI. Okay, so again, these are the two types of artificial intelligence. What do you mean by rule-based AI? Rule-based AI is you give a command to that machine or to program, and it will give you a result. Right? It will give you a result. The best example of rule-based AI would be Excel, right? The computer program which we often use, that is Excel. Now Excel has got so many functions, right? We only use half of, no, not even half, we only use 5% of it, right? But in Excel you have many columns, and if at all you need to calculate the sum of all the numbers which are in a particular column, so what you have to do, you have to click on that sum icon. Once you click it, it will show you the figure, it will show you the number, the sum of all the numbers, right? That is rule-based AI, right? You give a command, and based on that command, the system will follow. This is very basic, very simple thing which is classified as rule-based AI. Now, on the other hand, when we talk about data-driven AI, that means the AI, the artificial intelligence, or the AI-enabled system takes a decision based on the data, which is given to that particular system. So once you ask a question to that AI-enabled device, it is going to run that question through its data, right? And then it will come up with an answer. Then it will come up with the best possible answer to your question. That is data-driven AI. And when we are talking about introducing artificial intelligence into our Indian judiciary, we are talking about data-driven AI. So the AI softwares, they will be based on the data. Okay. And now the next thing is another word which is quite associated with artificial intelligence is big data. Okay. Now, what is this big data? What is this big data? Big data is, like I said, when we are talking about data-driven AI, this artificial intelligence system needs data to process its decision, right? So for example, if we are talking about AI-enabled system is going to decide whether an adjournment should be granted or not, then in that case, you need to first train that system how to grant adjournment. What is adjournment? How adjournment application looks like? Okay, I'll give you a simpler example. For example, you want an AI-enabled system to decide between to decide whether the picture is of a cat or of a dog, right? So what you need to do, you need to first teach that machine, what do you mean by dog, what do you mean by cat, and first you need to show that machine pictures, and you need to record those pictures in its memory. So now if you just show two pictures, one of a cat and one of a dog, and if you ask him whether this is a dog or a cat, there is a 50-50 possibility that the machine will give the right answer, but the possibility is very less. So now if you need to increase the possibility, right, what you need to do is you need to show that machine thousands of pictures of cats in different environments, different types, different colors, and you need to show thousands of pictures of dogs in different environment, different colors, different position, whatnot. Only then the accuracy of that machine's judgment will go up. Okay, so that is the big data. And when we are talking about introducing AI into Indian judiciary, you can imagine the amount of data which we are talking. So this data collection and feeding that data into into AI enabled system or software is a quite a task, but it is a very important step. Okay, so that is what big data is all about. Now, like I said, there are countries which have introduced artificial intelligence in their judiciaries, in their court system. So this is just some examples, right? I have given the source, so you can visit the source and you can read more about it, and this information is available. So the first two are from America and the last one is from Canada. Okay, so the first one is, I found it quite interesting. The first one is, the full title of it is Correctional Offender Management Profiling for Alternative Sanctions. Its abbreviation is COMPASS. It is used by criminal courts in some states of America. It is AI-enabled software. It is AI-enabled software which is used by the courts to assess the risk that a given accused will abscond and repeat offense if granted bail. Right? So this is the important decision, right? When judge is about to grant bail, or if the judge is about to grant parole, this is the decision which that judge needs to make, right? Whether that person is going to jump bail, or whether that person is going to violate his parole, or what are his antecedents. Is it a repeated offender? If he's a repeated offender, then maybe bail should not be given, or if it's a hardened criminal, then maybe should not be released on parole. So these are the decisions or these are the thoughts which judge needs to go through. So this Compass software, it assesses the risk and tells the magistrate or the judge that there is like 10% likelihood that this person is going to jump the bail, or there is 40% possibility that this person is going to violate parole conditions. Right? So this is the system which they are currently using. Next is the next software, which is called as e-discovery. It is also used by some of the courts, and this happens in the cases of civil litigation. Because when you talk about civil litigation, basically we are talking about a lot of data, a lot of documents, and a lot of evidence, right? And now, if at all there is a document, like for example, sale deed, or maybe whatever, will or something, some part of it will be important, but other part will be pretty routine or pretty common or straightforward. But in order to understand, in order to reach to that important part, you need to read the whole document, and it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. So what it does, this e-discovery software, it uses artificial intelligence, right? It uses artificial intelligence to learn which is the best algorithm to extract the relevant parts from a large amount of information. So if you, how it will work. So if at all, if you show him a big or a lengthy sale deed, okay. So what it will do, it will use its AI and it will come up with a system on its own, right? This e-discovery will come up with system on its own to decide how to find the most relevant information from that lengthy document. And that information will be highlighted, that this software thinks that this information which it has highlighted is the most relevant for this case. So you can see it is reducing the time, right? It is reducing the time of a lawyer or judge to read. Now, again, it is open to debate whether as a lawyer you should rely upon the AI, but that is something that is another question. But it is possible. It is possible, and in America, we can see that the e-discovery is being used. Now, another example is from its neighboring country, that is Canada, and the software which they use is called by Solution Explorer. Okay, now this is used by Civil Resolution Tribunal of Canada, or it's called as CRT. Okay, so it is a basically user interface. So as you can see, it offers free legal information and self-help tools. So how it works, if you are a potential litigant, then what you have to do, you have to log into their system. You need to give the code, your identification number, and then you need to type your question. whatever query you have, right? Based on your query, it will give you options, or it will answer your question. And from then onwards, you can decide what is the action. You can decide the action which needs to be taken. Okay. Now, this is not purely AI. I can understand. This cannot be classified as a purely AI, because you are giving the information to that system, and then in return you are asking that information to come up with answer. So not pure AI, or not AI in a strict sense, but again, it can solve those disputes outside of the court. And you can see, if the disputes are solved outside of the court, the minor ones, again, this cannot be used for criminal cases or other complex or serious offenses. But for civil minor offenses, or like, for example, challan violation, traffic violations, this seems feasible. Again, this is a Canada model, so we are not sure whether can we just pick it up from Canada and whether we can use it. But this is what they are doing in Canada. So in accountability, so the judiciary will be responsible, or judiciary will be accountable for the decisions, and it can be achieved by, or it can be achieved with the help of artificial intelligence. Okay. Now, it is based on compulsory similar cases search and reporting mechanism. That is another mechanism which the Chinese courts are using, or the software which they are using. They are using this compulsory similar cases search and reporting mechanism. So how it works in China, there is also hierarchy of a courts. You have lower courts and you have higher courts. So when judge hears any case, or when a judge is about to deliver a case, it is mandatory for that judge to look for similar cases, right? To look for similar cases decided by other courts, decided by superior courts. So just like a precedent in India, when we talk about common law system, there is a system of precedent, right? So, and the judgment given by higher court is binding on the lower courts. We know that is the system of precedent. So here, the China, what they have done is, they have made it mandatory, they have made it compulsory for a judge to look for similar cases before that judge gives any judgment, or before that judge passes any judgment. Now, how China has achieved this? Because China has its full faith, full confidence in its big data system. Like I said, whenever we are talking about artificial intelligence, we cannot ignore the importance, or we cannot ignore the connection which AI has with big data. So what China has done, they have compiled all the judgments throughout the country in a single database. So the Chinese authorities, they have digitalized the judgments of the courts, all the courts, and they have created a repository, or they have created a single database, right? So what happens is, they have made mandatory that judge needs to search for similar cases in that database, and then needs to give a judgment. Now, hypothetically, let's say a judge is about to decide a case. So as per compulsory similar cases search and reporting mechanism, that judge is going to first look for similar cases which are there in the system, and then accordingly is going to produce his judgment. He's going to write, he or she is going to write its judgment. Now, again, what happens is, if that judgment is significantly different from similar cases, if the judgment which has been written by that magistrate or a judge is significantly different from the similar cases, then the system will send abnormal judgment warning to superior judge. So again, they have not eliminated the supervisory role of judges, but they have just used AI to make this system more efficient. So this AI system will send a warning to a superior judge that you need to review a particular judgment passed by a lower judge, or passed by a lower court, because the system thinks it is substantially different from the similar cases, and then the superior judge will scrutinize that judgment, and then the superior judge will take the appropriate action, or he will send back the judgment to the judge who has passed it, and he will ask that judge to modify it. Now the thing is, this system is not foolproof. This system is not foolproof. Even many lawyers from around the globe have argued that it is not perfect, and even the Chinese judges, they have expressed their dissatisfaction to some extent regarding this particular system. Why? Because the thing is that yes, they have created the database of many cases, but unfortunately what happened is that the database the database is not representative enough. The database is not accurate enough. So what happens is, judges, they don't find similar cases in that database. If at all there are no similar cases in the database, and if at all you try to write a judgment, then obviously the system is going to send abnormal judgment warning to a superior judge. So it is not working as it is expected. But the Chinese authority is saying that they are trying to make the system better. But at the outset, that's what the judges are saying, that the database should be representative. The database should be sufficiently broad. It should have many cases with different circumstances, different factors. So it should be very complicated, but at the same time representative enough, so that a judge who is about to pass a judgment can find a similar case. If that is not there, if the data is not perfect, again, this only highlights the importance of big data. If the data is not perfect, then the outcome will be also imperfect. Okay. Another major criticism which has been leveled against this system is that it has restricted the judge's discretion. Okay, because a machine is going to tell a judge that this is the similar judgment which that machine has found, and your judgment should be in line or should be in tune with the judgment, with the earlier judgment. If it's not, then it is going to send a warning to a superior judge or higher court. So it has restricted the judge's discretion. Now judges, they have discretion, court should have discretion. Not everything is in the law books or the statutes and everything, but this system has reduced the judge's discretion, and that is one of the criticism which has been leveled against this particular system. Another thing is that plus side of this system is that people say that, or the people who are involved in the judicial system, they say that but in spite of its these defects, this system is very useful when it comes to training of new judges, right? Because earlier what happens is, even that is the case with Indian judiciary, that you have to, I mean, the trainee magistrate has to sit with magistrate or a judge in order to learn, to get the hands-on experience, right? But this system tells us that it is not necessary. The system will help a trainee judge or trainee magistrate to how to draft a judgment, how to write a judgment, and for that that judge does not need to depend upon any other judge, right? The machine itself will take care of it. That is the Chinese model. Now the thing is, we know that Chinese political structure, Chinese political system, Chinese judiciary is different than Indian judiciary. The freedom, the fundamental freedom which we have, right? China, those freedoms, they are not easily available. There are a lot many restrictions on, and the restrictions, they happen in the ways of CCTV surveillance, face recognition. So these restrictions are there, and the system which they are talking about, or the system which they have introduced, that is the compulsory similar cases and similar cases, similar judgments, the system, it is suitable for that Chinese environment, and may not, we do not know it entirely, may not work in India, where our legal system, our understanding of legal system, our fundamental freedoms are different. So if at all we need to incorporate such system, or for example compass, what we need to do is we need to tweak that system up. We need to modify it. We need to change that system a bit so that it can work in Indian setting. That is something is very important. Like I said, you cannot just pick a system from other country which they use in conjunction with the judiciary and you can just use it in India. That may not be possible. So now the most another important question, the theme of this webinar, what can artificial intelligence do for Indian judiciary? Like I said, Indian judiciary, the Indian judicial setup is fairly complex. There's a hierarchy of courts, there are judges, hierarchy of judges, there are litigants, there are lawyers, and every year there are new lawyers who join this fraternity, right? Law graduates who decide to practice in court. So the number is increasing. And also the except the pandemic, but litigations, unfortunately, it is the human nature, we can say, but there is no end to litigation, right? So AI has potential. AI has shown potential to help Indian judiciary. So let's try to discuss, let's try to understand how artificial intelligence can help Indian judiciary. So the first thing is that advice. Okay. Now AI can assist people who are potential litigants. This function can help people to solve their problems themselves without going to courts. Like I said, like the example which we discussed, CRT, that is Canada. Okay, there they have created a portal. So on the similar lines, a portal can be created which will be assisted by AI, where people need to, and you can, and we need to give access to people with their legal doubts, because what happens is many times potential litigants, they are not looking for someone who is going to file case for them. Many times people, potential litigants, they are looking for legal advice. There have been instances where lawyers told the litigants that please don't pursue litigation, it will not do any good for them. And those litigants actually listened to the advice of the lawyers and they decided not to pursue with the litigation, because the time, energy, and litigation is costly. It's time taking, right? So what they actually require is that good legal advice. And for that AI can assist. So again, we need to, statisticians and programmers, they need to come up with a portal or a model which will allow users to punch in or to put in their doubts and the data and the facts, and it will prompt or it will give options to the litigation. That, for example, if you have received a product with deficiency, okay, it is within a warranty. We are just discussing a simple example. Okay, so then that in that case you can pursue, you can file your claim here. You have consumer, maybe you have to go to the district forum, and like, so these kind of advice. So for that they actually don't need to go to a lawyer, or for that they don't need to go to the courts. Or for example, many times they require documents, right, applications like airship or these documents. For that, unfortunately, they have to go to the court. But if at all we can come up with a system, AI enabled system, which can provide assistance to people with or if it can provide legal advice, then it can help people to solve their problems on their own without going to the courts. And it will actually cut down or it will at least significantly bring down the number of cases which are filed every day. Okay, so that is the first thing AI can do. Next is prediction. With the help of algorithm, artificial intelligence enabled systems can predict the outcome of a litigation. Now, this particular function is more suited for lawyers and litigants rather than judges. So again, statisticians and data scientists, they need to come up with a model. They need to collect the data. It will require huge amount of data, no doubt about it. Then those scientists need to feed that data into their system. Okay, and then it will be able to predict. So what it will do, it will algorithm, it will use a formula, and it will try to find out a path how the case is going to proceed, right? And maybe that system will produce a prediction. It will give a prediction estimate of what is going to happen. So how it is going to help? It can help the lawyers to modify or they change the line of argument accordingly. Okay, that's why I said it is more useful for lawyers, or it can be also useful for litigants if we combine prediction with advice, right? So if at all the AI enabled system is going to predict the outcome, like for example the case will go on for roughly 15 years, if that is the prediction, obviously the litigant is going to think twice before filing the actual case. And here, that AI system is not saying that you should not file a case. It is not saying, it is not forcing that litigant to stay away from the court. No, it is just providing that litigant with an option that if or that there is the option that you may decline to file a case, or you may find some other forum, or if at all you want to pursue with the litigation, then at least you need to give 10 years of your life or something like that. So this is a prediction, this is the advice which the AI can give to litigants and lawyers, and that will help in lessening the burden of judiciary of pending cases, and like I said, the new cases which are being added to it every day. Next is that is automated documents. Again, this is also not directly useful for judges, but it and litigants, but it is useful for law firms. Okay, so the thing is that AI can be used by firms to create standard legal templates. It can free lawyers to work on other important and complex cases. Okay, so here we are not saying that, or we are not trying to replace lawyers. Obviously, their expertise is required, but we are trying to assess how it will work. That many times when we talk about standard contract or merger document, usually these law firms they spend a lot of time in coming up with a standardized format. Okay, so now here AI can come to their rescue. If at all you feed the information, like for example, let's say simple contract, so you need to feed the information, what is the commodity, what is the consideration, when the sale is going to happen, what is the what is the place, the name of the parties, buyer, and everything. So if you feed that information, then the AI enabled system will produce a standard legal template. Okay, it will have some room, it will have some room so that some minor corrections will be done, but otherwise it will save a lot of time. You can imagine, right? You are just giving details of the names of your client, consideration, a type of commodity, and the system itself will produce a document for you. So it can free lawyers to work on other important and complex cases. We are not saying that, or I'm not saying that this AI technology will eat up the jobs of law firms or lawyers. No, it is there to assist them. So they don't have to worry about these routine matters, which can be done by machines, right? Which can be done by machines, right? Okay, for the simple reason, why do we use a computer, right? Because of its calculation speed. It's much more efficient, it's much more faster, it's not going to get tired, the examples which we discussed, right? So lawyers and firms, they don't need to spend a lot of time on drafting standard legal templates. Automated documents can solve that problem for them. Next is remand decisions. Now this is something which will actually help judges. It has some potential in it. We know that every day, accused are brought before magistrate for remand matters. Here it happens in the afternoon, right? So, and whenever an accused is produced before a magistrate needs to decide the two questions. First is that whether to give police custody or whether to grant magistrate custody, and if yes, what is the duration of it? What will be the duration of the custody? These are the two questions. These are the two questions which that magistrate needs to ask. Okay. Now, how AI can help here? Again, it's a work for data scientists and statisticians that first of all, they need to collect lot of remand applications or remand decisions, say thousands, tens of thousands of remand decisions. That is true. Then those remand decisions will tell a pattern, right? This was the crime, okay? This was the accused. Magistrate decided to award police custody for say 10 days, okay, for X number of days, okay. Why? Because of these reasons, because the reasons are also there. Or magistrate decided to award magistrate custody for this reasons, okay, reasons are there, right? Then you need to feed in that data into AI enabled system. And when the magistrate when the magistrate has to take the decision, that AI system will run that particular question. Like, for example, a magistrate is deciding whether to grant police custody or magistrate custody to that accused. So it will ask that question to that machine. Machine, what do you think? Should I award, or what is your decision? So the machine will run that question through its entire database, and it will come out a decision that, based on its facts, that this case is fit for magisterial custody. That is what machine is suggesting. Again, the discretion vests with the magistrate. Like I said, at the end of the day, the call should be of the magistrate. The AI enabled system is not going to send that accused to magistrate custody or to the police custody. It is just going to assist magistrate to arrive at a decision. It will give statistics. Like, for example, for this type of offenses, we have given so far these many police custodies for X number of days, or for this particular type of offenses, so far we have given these many police custodies for these many days, and the different combination. So it will help the magistrate to arrive at a decision in less time. That is how it can help the judges, especially magistrate, in remand cases. Next is bail decisions. Next is the bail decisions. Now, again, routinely, many bail applications are filed in courts. Some of them are regular bails, others are for anticipatory bails. But when we talk about bailable cases, the judge needs to decide the amount of bond and surety. Again, here also, we can take the help of AI. So AI-enabled system, based on the data which is there in its system, can decide or can help the judge to decide the amount of bond and surety. So, for example, if for this particular offense, in its record, there are, say, 400 cases in which the amount of bond and surety was X, then it will definitely help the judge to decide that particular amount. Like I said, again, it is just a suggestion. It is a suggestion. At the end of the day, judge is going to decide the actual amount, right? So here, it will save a lot of time of the magistrate or the judges who have to decide the amount of bond and surety. But again, sufficient data is required. Of different cases, there have to be, the data has to be representative, right? Data has to be representative. Every combination of different sort should be included in the data. It should not happen that the data is only of, say, cases relating to, or data is only of cases of heinous crimes. No, you also need to have the cases which differ in the degree of severity. Only then the data can be representative enough. If that is achieved, then it can help magistrates and judges with the bail decisions. Next is the day-to-day functioning, that is adjournments. Every day, many cases get adjourned. A lot of cases are posted, or a lot of cases are scheduled for court to decide. But again, many cases out of them get adjourned. And most of the cases, especially criminal cases, they get adjourned for the absence of one or more accused, right? So now, traditionally, judges need to note down the presence or absence of the accused. How many accused are present? How many accused are absent? And it happens when cases like riot cases where there are number of accused, and most of the time it happens some accused they remain absent, right? So instead of noting all of their names and noting down the accused who are present, accused who are absent, you can ask the machine, you can ask the AI enabled machine to do that for you. So the magistrate does not need to spend time noting down the presence or absence of the accused, and the case may move on, right? So this is time saving measure which we can ask the AI enabled machine to do for us, to do for the judiciary. Okay. Next thing which comes into picture, which comes to our mind, is framing of charge. Now, as far as criminal trials are concerned, it is one of the most important steps in criminal trial. That is the framing of charge. Right? So now, what happens is the penal sections which are applied, they are fixed. Their text is there in IPC, in different enactments, different statutes. The text is there. The format of charge is also the same, is almost similar, it's also fixed. Okay, so here, unless the amendment or anything happen, again, if a section gets amended, still it's going to get reflected, so the change can be made accordingly. But generally the penal sections are fixed, like for example section 302 of IPC, it's fixed. Okay, any other section for that matter. The format of charge is also fixed. So here what it can have, what AI can do, an AI enabled system can be engineered which will provide a template to frame charge with some room for adding some options. Okay, so an AI enabled system can be engineered which will provide a template, right? It will provide a format of asking question, right? That if at all a judge is about to take down, or if at all the judge is about to frame charge, then these are the set of questions which that judge needs to ask. So the questions are usually the same. The sections, like I said, the wording is the same. So you can ask AI enabled software to prepare a template of the charge. Now that template should have some scope, some room for some changes. If at all the judge feels that, okay, there are some changes, some additions needs to be made, then he can ask that machine to make those changes. Otherwise, the format is fixed so that it can save a lot of time of judges, especially magistrate, to at the when it comes to framing of charge or recording of plea. Okay. Next is statement under section 313. This is also another step where the accused gets chance to record his say against the evidence which has been produced against him or her. So again, another important step when it comes to criminal trials. So again, here AI can help the judiciary. That again, AI can come up with standard set of questions. Usually, what accused is going to say is going to change. It cannot be, there's no straitjacket formula for that. But what judge is going to ask, or the standard set of questions, for that we can rely upon AI. Okay, so AI enabled software will produce, or it will come up with a standard set of questions which can be asked to an accused, and then its statement can be recorded. Okay, now the suggestions which we discussed, these were the observations which were made by Mr. Suresh Wagh, the retired district judge and session judge, right? So these are the objections of these were the observations of retired district judge and session judge who had first-hand experience of discussing, or who had first-hand experience of dealing with all these matters, right? So this is what AI can do for the judiciary. And here we are not only talking about higher judiciary, but we need to start with the bottom, from the bottom, and then we need to move up, because the higher courts and Supreme Courts, there is sufficient, again, there is a scope for improvement, yes, but there is automation, there is a digitalization. But again, like for example, Supreme Court, it has its software which translates the judgments which come from different languages or something for that. But we need to start at the very bottom with the lower tier courts, and then we can move up the ladder. So this is how AI can help the Indian judiciary. Now, the next very important thing which we need to discuss is about the concerns and challenges, because this system is in its infancy. We have not yet understood the full extent of artificial intelligence, how it is going to function, right? So we need to prepare for the challenges. We need to understand what are the concerns which are there. So the first and foremost is there is a scope for bias. Okay, even in AI-enabled system, there is a scope for bias. Let me give you an example. We discussed about that Compass software, right, which American criminal courts use to assess the risk involved in granting bail to an accused. So it was shown that this Compass software was biased towards blacks compared to white criminals. So it was saying that the blacks accused should not be granted bail. So this kind of bias can seep in. Now, why did this happen? So the statisticians and the data scientists, they tried to find the cause of it. So they realized that the data which was gathered, it was faulty. It was faulty because the data only talked about black criminals. Right? Data only talked about black criminals, and it was not sufficiently representative. The data was not sufficiently representative, so it did not factor in the white criminals. That is why the Compass was producing biased decision. But again, the thing is that bias is something which is not only limited to machines. Even human mind can get affected because of bias. For example, in Israel, there was a study done regarding the parole, this thing. So it was observed that the hour before the lunch break and the last working hour, in these 2 hours, harsher decisions were given, harsher parole decisions were given, right? So again, this is a bias. This is a bias which is like humans, right? It's not only machines which are susceptible to bias, but this bias can be eliminated. When we are talking about AI, this bias can be eliminated. How? Your data should be perfect. You need to update it. You need to modify it. Your data should be sufficiently vast, sufficiently complex, sufficiently comprehensive, and it should offer variety of combinations and permutations and combinations. If that is the case, then you can reduce the bias. Now, the next most important thing is that respect for human rights, privacy, equal treatment, and fair trial. When we are talking about introducing artificial intelligence in the judiciary, any judiciary for that matter, be it Indian or any other judiciary, it should not come at the cost of human rights, privacy, equal treatment, and fair trial, or the constitutional safeguards which are there. So yes, when you are recording a statement under section 313 of that accused should feel that his constitutional safeguards are fully guaranteed, or he's not being treated unfairly, right? So if required, your AI or the AI enabled system should be in tune with the constitutional safeguards. It should not happen that we are using AI enabled system, but the system is not respecting the human rights, or it is not respecting the privacy, or it is causing discrimination, which happened in the case of Compass, right? It was discriminating between blacks and white criminals. And we should ensure that the accused gets fair trial, because that is something which has been guaranteed to that accused by the Constitution of India. Next step is, which is very, very important, and that is data security. When we're talking about artificial intelligence, and we discussed how big data and artificial intelligence are interlinked. So we need a robust framework, a very strong protection mechanism to protect the data. Because even if you upload a single adjournment file, okay, for the review, if at all you upload a single adjournment file in the AI enabled software, okay, it is going to create a digital footprint. Sometimes these code documents, many times, not sometimes, many times, these code documents, they contain very sensitive information. It may be regarding privacy, it may be regarding the names of the accused or the names of the victim, something. So we need to be very sure that the data is not misused. because we know that we have observed that cyber crimes are on the rise. So we need to be very sure about the data which we are using or which we are feeding in the system, so that it is secure and we can rely on that information. The AI system can rely on the information. Otherwise, it will only increase our problems. It will often result into breach of data security, which should not happen. Next point is that the artificial intelligence should be the under control of user. AI should not overpower users. Like I said, the last call, the last decision should be of the human. AI-enabled system should not decide whether to send that accused to jail or whether to send that accused on bail. It should just suggest. Last decision, the ultimate decision should vest with the human, be it judge or a magistrate, right? So AI should not overpower its user, and it is also true for lawyer. In the case of lawyers and clerks, it is for their assistants. It should not overpower them in any way. If that is happening, then it is time that it should be modified, or it should be changed, or it should be rectified. It is for the benefit of humans. AI in judiciary is for the benefit of stakeholders or the people who are associated with the judiciary. It is not for the benefit of artificial intelligence. So it should be used in such a way that it is in a position to assist humans rather than overpower their decision making. Next important thing, or the next concern, is laws should be amended, modified. Now, this is especially true regarding the procedural laws, be it CPC or CRPC. Whenever you are introducing AI or something digital or artificial intelligence, the current laws which are there, they are centered around humans. They are centered among humans, or they have been drafted in a way which are suited for judiciary, which runs on human power alone and assisted, ICTs, yes. But then when you are going to introduce artificial intelligence into it, then we need to make sure that our laws, procedural laws, are sufficiently modified. So the same example, statement under section 313. If that has happened, maybe we need to amend the section from CRPC or any other procedural section. Maybe when you are recording, when the judge is recording, or when the judge is framing charge, then you need to amend the relevant sections or the procedure. And the same thing goes for civil laws as well, to some extent CPC, because if at all AI is going to be introduced, then the laws need to be monitored. Laws need to be amended and modified. Next point is the constant monitoring. At the end of the day, it is machines. They also require care and attention. So and that is especially true in the case of AI. Something which is new, something which is complex, that is always going to require care and attention. That is also going to require care and attention. And you need to update the data. You have created a system and you can just sit with your hands folded. No. If you have created an AI enabled system, and if you have given it to the judiciary, you need to constantly monitor. You need to check the data. If at all you feel that the data is incomplete, you need to add into that data. You need to make that data more representative. You need to remove the bugs. You need to make it more perfect. That is what is expected when we talk about introducing AI into Indian judiciary or judicial. And last two things are they are regarding the training of judges, clerks, and court staff. So it is something new. So the judges, clerks, and court staff, and also lawyers should be comfortable when they are using this AI-enabled system. They should not be. They should rely. The system should be reliable enough, and judges and clerks should function with that system without any kind of hesitation. Because otherwise, if they don't understand how the system functions, then it may result into mistakes, lapses, and then at the end of the day, it is accused or litigants who are going to suffer. And then there is no point in playing the blame game. That it was the AI. The AI is saying that no, it was not the AI. It was the input method. It was wrong. it was the big data. No, the training of judges, yeah, this thing is going to take time. It's going to prove costly, but that is very, very, very essential. Unless and until the stakeholders are comfortable using this technology, it should not be implemented. It should not be used. And the last is about the infrastructure. Our courts, they need to be well equipped to handle this new technology, right? We see that sometimes in lower courts, there are power cuts, and then you are unable to work or something like that happens. There are inverters and everything, but still these technical difficulties occur. And when we talk about AI, we need to have a robust infrastructure. And even if we talk about, allowing AI-enabled systems to work 24/7, we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure which is up and ready to handle that kind of data traffic. We need to have fast internet. We need to have, all the latest technical equipment. Only then you can bring out the full potential of AI in the Indian judiciary. Otherwise, it is just going to sit at one corner of the court and is just going to gather dust. That is something should not happen, right? So first, we need to have the infrastructure which will help us understand, or which will allow us to use AI in conjunction with judiciary or with legal fraternity. Yes, so that was my last slide, and thank you very much for your patience and giving me chance to talk on this very interesting unconventional topic. Again, at the end of my presentation, I would like to say that it was just an attempt to understand how AI can work for the benefit of Indian judiciary. I may have missed some of the points. I was not in a position to cover all of the points because of the paucity of time. But I'm sure that if at all we start discussing about it more, if we start having seminars, conferences, deliberations on this particular topic, then we can say that we are going in the right direction. Okay, and that is, I think, that should be the aim of any seminar or conference or any webinar, that it should encourage people to think in undiscovered areas or to think about novel things. So again, I thank Law Insider wholeheartedly for giving me this opportunity to talk on the topic of artificial intelligence and Indian judiciary. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rohit sir, for enlightening us with your knowledge. Today's webinar was full of knowledge and interesting things. I am pretty sure the precious knowledge that Rohit sir gave us will definitely help us in future. And we can now have a clear picture in our mind regarding what can artificial intelligence do for Indian judiciary. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.